In a land of sunshine where the palm trees sway, there's a special show to brighten up your day. From rockin' festivals to Broadway dreams, tune in with Bonnie G. It's a desert scene. The desert scene with Bonnie G. Meet the stars and feel the beat. From the Coachella Valley, it's the place to be. For all the culture, fun, and harmony. The desert scene, yeah, with Bonnie G.
Mutual Broadcasting welcomes you to the Desert Scene, featuring conversations with the people who make culture, art, and entertainment happen in the Coachella Valley. From local theater to live music, art exhibits to cinema and beyond. Now, here is your host, Bonnie G.
Welcome to the Desert Scene. So happy to have you here today, and very happy to welcome as our guest Gregg Ostrin, who is the writer of a brand new play, The Beverly Hills Hotel Peace Talks, which is making its world premiere at CV Rep on May 21st. Hey, Gregg, how are you?
Great, Bonnie. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So this is really fascinating, what the basis of this story. So it started with a publicity still from Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand and Omar Sharif. So tell us a little bit, tell us what about that and what the controversy was and how that led you to this play.
So the story is that in 1967, Columbia Pictures signed Barbra Streisand to star in Funny Girl, which, you know, she had done on Broadway and won the Tony. And was her first film, and they could not find an actor to play the role of Nick Ornstein. Nobody in Hollywood would do it. Nobody in Hollywood felt they could sing. And William Wyler, the director, he would go to the Columbia Pictures commissary every day with a group of people, and at the other table would always be Omar Sharif, who was shooting a Western. He was playing a Mexican bandit in a Western. And as a joke, Wyler would say, because they could never find anybody, but Paul Newman wouldn't do it, and this one wouldn't do it, and that one wouldn't do it. And Wyler would always say, well, why not Omar Sharif? And everyone would laugh. And then one day, he was looking at Omar Sharif, and he went, why not Omar Sharif? And he was serious. So they cast Omar Sharif. A week later, the 6-Day War broke out. Israel attacked Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. And you had an Egyptian actor now starring opposite a Jewish American actress in a $14 million musical. So everybody was really nervous. All of the investors were Jewish, and everybody wanted Omar Sharif recast, and only William Wyler said, that's not happening. And then, to your point, about a month later, a photograph leaked of Streisand and Sharif sort of cuddling on set. And they basically officially said that if Omar Sharif did this film, they would revoke his citizenship and they would ban his films for life. And Israel was outraged and demanded that Streisand issue a formal apology. So this was at the moment, like a huge sort of diplomatic crisis. I learned about this, and I don't even remember where I learned about it. I read it somewhere, but I thought it would make a really interesting play. Originally, I was going to make it about Streisand and Sharif because they ended up having an affair during the making of the film.
I knew that much.
Yeah. And I found out from someone who is very close to Barbra Streisand, and she said, don't do that. You don't want to do that. So I thought, well, it's still a really interesting story. How can I spin it? So I created a fictitious diplomatic meeting between an Israeli diplomat and an Egyptian diplomat at the Beverly Hills Hotel, monitored by a Jewish American studio executive and his secretary, who's female African American, who plays a very prominent role in the play in sort of getting the studio executive to understand the politics and the emotions and what's really going on here. And I set it in the Beverly Hills Hotel because I just thought the name, the Beverly Hills Hotel Peace Talks, would be really funny. Yeah. When you think about the Paris Peace Talks and, the Geneva Peace Talks and all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much the story of the play. Again, it's a fictional account of something based on a real event, but it is also the play is funny and it's romantic and it's charming, but it also deals with identity and religion and race and the conflict in the Middle East. And after stuff happened in October of last year,
very timely.
It really really made it timely.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So once you came up with the premise around this real life story, did it just kind of flow, or did you sit there and did you have a writer's block where you just sat there and looked at your computer and said, or did it just flow?
No, it flowed. I've never honestly I've been writing since 1990 and almost every day of my life, and I've never experienced writer's block, knock wood. But it came out very quickly and very easily. But, the play is still, even as of, this morning I was rewriting. So once you get it with actors and a director, stuff starts to change. You start to see what isn't working. And also we did a reading last summer, and a lot has changed since that reading and where we're at today.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back for a minute. You've done some acting too. You've started as an actor and then kind of moved into writing. Talk about that arc.
So I was born and raised in Los Angeles and in the west side of LA. I grew up around the movie business. I grew up watching TV. I mean, that generation of us who grew up in the 60s, TV became our babysitter and our teacher and our surrogate parent. And I loved movies, and my mom was a huge Barbra Streisand fan, and she was also just a huge movie fan. And so you grow up and you see movie stars and TV stars all the time. And I went to school with the children of movie stars and TV stars and rock stars.
Yeah.
So I've always been around that. But I always wanted to be an actor. Being an actor was my passion. And I studied it. I went to, acting school, and I would audition for things, and I did plays and all the stuff that that one does, competed in drama festivals and things like that, and moved to New York. I studied at a theater in college and moved to New York, and because that's where I really wanted to be. But it was, that was in the late 70s, early 80s, and things were changing. Theater was going through a lot of changes. But I did some theater. I worked across, in LA and New York, did a couple of low budget movies, but really not a lot was happening for me as an actor. And then a friend of mine started a little theater company where all of the members would write their own material. And so I got into the discipline of writing, and I found that I really felt like I really was always a writer. It just was sitting kind of dormant. And I love to perform. I love to talk about myself, and I love to do things like this. Yeah. And I love to be on stage, and I'm very comfortable on stage. Like you could put me on stage with no material, for something, and I could extemporize and be fine with it. But writing, the great thing about writing is you get to play all the parts and you get to tell interesting stories. And so I transitioned into writing, and I found that while as an actor, I got a lot of praise for being an actor, but no work. As a writer, I got praise for writing, but people started hiring me for things, and people reached out to me. And so I, sold screenplays and television scripts, and I worked in various writing capacities in film and television, and even marketing for film and TV. But theater's where I started. And a couple years ago, the whole world of screenwriting really changed in that it's not easy. It really got very difficult to even sell scripts anymore, which is what I was doing. And so I went back to theater, and the last 2 years, I had 2 plays done just in Los Angeles that I wrote. Anyway, we can talk about that. I mean, I had a few plays produced, and then in addition to this one, some other projects going on, which are really exciting as well.
When did you make the move from New York to LA?
Oh, I moved back to New York. I moved back to LA in the late 80s. I was working for a good friend of mine. She was actually my former girlfriend who'd become a very prominent New York casting director. She still is, Alexa Fogel. And I used to be a reader with other actors for auditions. And I sat in as a reader and for a theater, the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis. And so I got hired as part of their young company. So I worked at the Guthrie, and that I got my equity card, and I just decided to move back to Los Angeles. I really didn't, as much as I love New York, I didn't feel like there was anything going on there. So I thought, well, let me try LA.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a whole lot going on in LA either, quite honestly, but LA was home, and that sort of led me on the path, kind of the next chapter for me.
Let's talk about starting as an actor. I would think that gives you, especially when you're writing for theater, sort of an edge because you sort of know what the acting process is to write, are you always involved in the casting process, or is that sometimes just strictly the director's purview? Do you get any say in that?
I mean, you're asked suggestions, but it's really, what's really great about writing in the theater is that when you work in film, the writer is the lowest rung on the creative ladder. If a studio or a network buys your script or options your script, it is no longer your script.
Yeah.
And the stories that I have of the, changes that were made to things I wrote is staggering. And every writer who works in that
goes through that,
has worked in that world, go through it. So, but in theater, it's the opposite. In theater, you're the writer. So it's your final say. Now, around things like casting and direction and design, I feel like, you need to show the director the proper respect. And in those cases, to me, the director is the final say. And I really do. People say the writer is the final arbiter in the theater, but I think it really is the director because and there've been times when I, because it can be limiting as a writer because you think of your characters in a certain way because, this is how I wrote it. Right. And this is who I heard when I wrote it, or this is who I thought of. And then somebody else can come along who's completely different.
And you're like, wow,
totally
this
different.
Worked. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, I never would have seen that coming. Yeah. So there are elements of being the writer where it does put you at a disadvantage because you have all of these preconceptions.
Yeah. Well, Gregg Ostrin, again, the play is the Beverly Hills Hotel Peace Talks world premiere. Starts May 21st at CV Rep. Of course, Adam Karsten, the artistic director, chose this, and it sounds like a wonderful show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you. And thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and really just encourage everyone to come out and see it. It's a short run, but CV Rep is doing amazing work. Adam is doing incredible work. Randy Brenner is the director, and the cast is phenomenal. Sure. And it's been a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Gregg Ostrin. All right. Thank you. And thank you all. We'll see you the next time on The Desert Scene.
The Desert Scene with Bonnie G. Meet the stars and feel the beat. From the Coachella Valley, it's the place to be. For all the culture, fun, and harmony. The Desert Scene, with Bonnie G. The Desert Scene's where you belong with Mutual Broadcasting's Bonnie G. Just sing along. Just sing along.